That's right, I'm sad and blue, 'cause I can't do the boogaloo. I'm lost, can't do my thing, and that's why I sing. Gimme that thing. Gimme that, 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 gimme that. I sing it one more time, mama.
Warning. The following content is of an idiotic nature and contains pure ignorance. Viewer discretion is advised. Note: the video's sync and quality is original and not my doing.
But every time I talk to atheists, every time they say the same thing to me about science. You know, it's a scientist. It's the scientist. The scientist says this. The scientist says that. You know, and it's ridiculous. I mean, who is a scientist? Is somebody who looks into science? The theory. Yeah, I mean, the theory mean I don't know, okay? The theory mean it could be that way, then it could not be that way. The Big Bang theory, all right? Darwin's theory. And they try to make that as lore. Scientists are no more than men like you that got an opinion and put it on paper. Every scientist's opinion has 100 rebukes by other scientists. Scientists are good for things that's tangible. That means things you can put your hands on. They're good for investigating and filling out the details. But things they can't handle, things they can't see, things they can't touch, scientists are just guessing. Oh, the scientists. The scientists are nothing but men that been here as long as you have, and all the scientists do is discover or investigate what's already here. They haven't created anything. The scientific fact is nonsense. It's a bunch of witchcraft. It's a bunch of voodoo. That's what it is. Look at the sun, how still the sun. I'm looking at the sun right now, and the sun has been there for billions of years, keeping this planet just the right temperature so we won't fry, and just the right temperature we won't freeze. And the Earth has been the same axis for billions of years consistently. You trying to say that just happened and wasn't placed there? Man, you atheists are just ridiculous.
Oh dear. Someone has gotten their knickers in a knot, haven't they? Kaz6350 seems to be having a big problem understanding the scientific method. This lack of knowledge could have easily been overcome with a simple web search or by reading a book. Kaz6350, like many creationists, decided it would be better to parade his ignorance to the world instead of finding out about these things. Well, Kaz, let me first try and explain the scientific method to you. We can sort out some of your other problems in a minute.
So what is science? You could argue that it's the production of explanations of how things work by recording observations and the production of repeatable results that can all be disproven. The last bit's important, Kaz, because if you can't disprove something, it's not science. Let's think of an example. If I said that all life on Earth was created by a magical being that no one could see, touch, smell, observe with any instrument, and could never test, that is not science. For it to be a scientific explanation, there must be some way of disproving it. So if I said life on Earth originated through chemical processes, we can go through and disprove that if we are unable to recreate given steps in the process. But how do we go about doing all this? Bringing these explanations? Well, let's use the law as an example. In law, you start with a crime. Something happens, a murder or robbery, and the law enforcement officers have their usual suspects, and they develop their hypothesis. They gather their thoughts and think who's most likely to have done it for a variety of possible reasons. They then gather evidence, forensics, fingerprints, etc. And you can find a lot of cases where the evidence disproves the police hypothesis. This takes them right the way back to the crime again, where they have to go through the process from the beginning. However, when the evidence supports their hypothesis, the police can then take the person to court, where your given country's prosecutors will prosecute the suspect. In the court case, a fair hearing will be given to evidence and arguments from both sides. It may result in the suspect being proven innocent, which then leads to the problem right the way back at the beginning of the crime again. However, if the court case finds the suspect guilty, the evidence supports the case against them, then the suspect is convicted. But this isn't the end of the process. If new evidence comes to light, then the right to appeal is held in most countries. So the suspect gets another court case and the chance to be declared innocent or found guilty again and the conviction upheld. Let's see how this is analogous to the scientific method. The scientific method starts with a problem, a natural phenomenon that hasn't been explained yet. This then goes on to a hypothesis, an idea. Someone uses their knowledge in a subject area and comes up with a proposal as to how a problem may be solved. At this point, they conduct experiments. These are impartial experiments. The double-blind test is something you could look up in this respect. And they produce results. These results can then be analysed, and it may be, as is often the case, that it disproves the hypothesis. This results in the scientist having to go back to the problem and starting all over again. However, if the results support the hypothesis, then it's time for a critical step, peer review. In peer review, you write up an article and send it to respectable scientific journals. The journals send off copies of your article to distinguished members of the scientific community in the field you're writing about. They then decide whether or not you're talking rubbish. This has been dumbed down a bit, Kaz. Try and keep up. Okay, if the peer review process finds that you have spoken nothing but nonsense, then it can be rejected. Your paper will not be published, and you have to go back to the problem stage. There may be recommendations as to how to improve your experiment, your write-up. If these are followed and your results still support your hypothesis, you can then try again for peer review. If, however, peer review approves your article, then it gets published, and after winning a consensus, it becomes known as your theory. A theory is obviously an explanation at this point as to how something happens. But again, it doesn't end. New problems come along with theories all the time. This leads to the process going all over again. There are some famous theories you may have heard of. Gravity is a theory, evolution, electromagnetism, germ theory of disease, atomic theory, and the theory of plate tectonics. As I'm trying to stress to you, Kaz, theories are explanations. Laws, those things that you saw theories as graduating into, are not explanations, they are descriptions. For the most part, laws are mathematical constructs, and they describe what happens to an object or situation, not why.